Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? Welcome again to Plumbing One, and these are some of the questions that were submitted by you to me to answer back to you. So, the first one, most of these are going to be opinions because those were the questions that were asked, matter of opinion, not necessarily fact. The first question was who has the best quality plumbing finishes? Again, this is an opinion. It's subject to taste. Personally, I like Kohler, but there are more modern type finishes like Toto that are very good quality, which actually brings me to the next question. I mean, you also have a lower end like American Standard. These are all porcelain finish products, and they're all very good. But then you also have Chicago, Delta, Price Pfister, Moen. They're all good quality fixtures. But the follow-up question to me from this person was, what is the best home or residential water closet on the market today? Well, I went ahead and I took a look, and I've always known this was a very good manufacturer, a very good company. And Toto, I searched several different Consumer Reports, Spruce, all these different websites to find out which plumbing fixture actually had a better flush, was quieter, a better design. And the one that kept coming up was Toto, more than Kohler and more than American Standard. And those are the three more recognizable. So yeah, Toto's a little more expensive, but you get what you pay for. So the one that kept coming up this year was the Toto Ultra Max 2. That is Roman numeral 2. And that is the Ultra Max 2. I guess it's like maximizes the flush ultra, you know. And it's, well, you know, it flushes number 2, right? So Ultra Max 2. And it's by Toto, like the dog Toto. No relation to the dog Toto from Wizard of Oz. It's just, that's the name of the company. So that's the best water closet on the market according to a couple of different surveys. The next question. This is a good one. And again, it's an opinion. I went ahead and looked up to see if the question would come up on it online and see what other plumbers had to say. Aside from the smell, what's the worst part about plumbing? For me, it's always been threading pipe. I don't mind getting dirty. I don't mind working in poo. I don't mind it. But for some reason, threading pipe, I don't like the way the dirt and the oil feels after threading pipe. I don't mind doing the measurements. I don't mind doing the cutting, the actual working on the machine. It's fun. It's just afterwards. I don't like the smell of the oil and the nastiness. That's for me. Some other plumbers actually brought up an interesting point. They said they don't like the misconception that they're stupid, that you're a plumber because you couldn't do anything else. I consider myself a smart person. I'm still learning plumbing. I've been doing it for 26 years. And that's what I like about it. That's one of the things I like about it. The design, the sizing, the engineering methods, everything about plumbing with the exception of pipe threading, and the way you feel afterwards. I enjoy. I love it. I like the challenge. I like building things. I like taking care of things. I like solving problems that people have. There's so much to plumbing that I enjoy. So I find it very interesting that when somebody finds out you're a plumber, there are two things that go through their heads. Oh, poor guy didn't make it through high school. And, oh, can you come help me? Those are the two things that almost always go through a person's mind when they think of a plumber. And whether you make it through high school or not, that's got nothing to do with your intelligence. I've known so many plumbers that never made it through high school, that went through prison, that got out of prison. And they're some of the smartest guys I've ever met. It's just a situation, and that's why they never make it out of high school. So, I like plumbing. I like almost everything about it, except for threading pipe. The next question, again, and actually he put this in the question. What is the best way, in your opinion, for an apprentice to learn alongside his journeyman so it doesn't hinder or stall a project or job? I guess there's a right way and a wrong way to have an apprentice, and I got really lucky when I went through my apprenticeship. I had journeymen, I had foremen that actually trusted me to do a task. They would line me out. They would sit there and say, this is what I want you to do. Go do it. Come back and I'll take a look at it. So I was left alone a lot, but I was also put next to and side by side journeymen that utilized me as a helper, that had me take the measurements, make the cuts. And in the process of doing that, I was watching and learning, and that's key for an apprentice to do. You have to watch, you have to learn. One of the most important things you can have, okay, it's going to be a little bit bigger than I had anticipated, but one of the most important things that you can have as an apprentice is a pad and a pen. You sit there and you write down every little thing that you can possibly think of. Everything. Write it down. Write down questions that you can ask later. Write down answers that maybe he gave you. Take notes. Use the journeyman like you would a teacher. Ask him questions. Why are you doing it this way? Can you explain? You're not going to learn anything if you don't ask. And a journeyman, his job is to ensure that you do learn. And if you're not learning from a journeyman the right way, then go to your supervisor and say, can you put me with somebody else? I know it's probably a better way of putting it, but you're not making yourself better for the company if you're stuck with someone who doesn't want to teach you, doesn't want to make you better, doesn't want to make you an asset for the company. An asset for the project, not a hindrance for the project. So a good journeyman is going to sit there and utilize you, tell you to make the cuts, tell you to get the parts, tell you what's going on, show you on the plans, this is what we're doing, so this is where we're at, this is what we're going to do, it goes up there. He's going to explain instead of just do the work and expect you to pick up something by, I don't know, just standing around watching. Not a good journeyman. I actually looked this one up because I was interested in different materials. What is the typical lifespan of piping materials? Initially, my answer was just going to be, and it actually worked out to be pretty close to correct. It is entirely based on the type of system that you have. The hardness of the water, the volume, the pressures, if it's installed correctly. So you can have, say, like for copper pipe, it lasts 50 to 80 years based on those parameters. Is it a caustic type of water? Is it a soft water, hard water? How many turns? How many 90s? How many T's? Is it undersized, oversized? If it's undersized, it's too much velocity. It's going to ruin the pipe. It's going to break the pipe down. Cast iron. cast iron is used for waste, it can last up to 100 years. But if it's put in the soil and the soil is acidic, it'll break down that cast iron. It'll shorten the lifespan of the cast iron. All of these things. If you put cast iron pipe in an acid system, you'd be lucky if it lasts a year. So you have to look at the system parameters to see how long something could last. PEX. They say PEX pipe has a lifespan of a couple hundred years, but in all reality, based on the systems, probably 50, 60 years, just like copper. Not that much different. PVC, when installed in the correct conditions, lasts over 100 years, just like cast iron. C900, which is the blue bell, it's blue PVC or plastic pipe, and it's just a rubber gasket and the pipe fits inside a bell. So there's the bell on the C900, and the other pipe fits inside it. And you have, in this little bump right here, that's a rubber gasket. That's all it is. It works on friction. This has a lifespan of about 50 years, 70 years. But if the pressures get too great, if there's a spike in the water pressure, this thing could literally blow apart. Or if it's not laid out straight, if it's laid out kind of crooked like this, then you're adding too much stress on one side of the pipe, and that'll end up bursting or breaking in half, and it'll split. And when it splits, it creates a water problem, a serious water problem, because most of the water mains are C900 out there. 6-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch. CPVC, same distance, roughly 80 to 100 years. If PVC is put out in the sunlight, it won't last nearly as long as 100 years. PVC is designed to go underground. It is not set up for UV light or sunlight. The next question was, if you have a recirculating pump and an expansion tank on an existing commercial gas water heater, is it still required when replacing with an electric water heater? It's actually a good question, and it poses an answer that once explained, it makes sense. So we have our water heater. That is a horrible water heater. I can do better. I know I can do better. There's your water heater. You have a hot water line going out, cold water coming in. You also have a water recirc line. Now this is an oversimplification of the system. So this is your recirc. Okay? So it's recirculating through. The hot water goes out, feeds everything, and then it goes back to the cold and back into the water heater. There's also an expansion tank. In an expansion tank, expansion tank. The expansion tank is there to absorb any extra pressure in the line When water gets heated, the water expands, the water increases pressure. You have to put in an expansion tank by code whenever there's a pressure regulator, backflow prevention device, or anything that prevents the system from absorbing back out into the street. This absorbs that excess pressure in the system instead of it going out, boom, out to the street. Check valves as well, if there's check valve. So, this is a gas water heater. Gas. Exhaust. Right? We're going to go ahead and get rid of the gas and run electrical. So we get rid of the gas. We get rid of the vent, or the exhaust. And we hook up a plug to the water heater, get an electric one. Regardless of gas or electric type water heater, like I said, the expansion tank is required whenever there's a check valve or a backflow prevention device out front or a pressure regulator out front, anything that stops the increase in pressure in the house or in the structure from going out into the street. That is when that is required. The recirc line is there strictly to make sure that the hot water is continuously being supplied almost instantaneous. The recirc line is not necessarily a code requirement. Actually, it is not a code requirement. So you can do away with the recirc line if you want, but the question was for a commercial building. All commercial buildings have backflow prevention devices, so the expansion tank has to stay. Next question. Are kitchen and bathroom pipes connected? Yes. Simple, yes. Even though a kitchen is food prep, that kind of thing, let's take it a step further. In a residential home, a kitchen and a bathroom are connected to the same system. When there's a backup, the backup comes up through the water closet. The water closet sits low at 15 inches. It's going to overflow over the flood level rim of that water closet before it overflows into the kitchen sink. Because the kitchen sink is going to sit anywhere between 34 to 36 inches high at the counter. So it's well above the water closet. In a commercial application, a kitchen or food prep area is going to be ran indirect waste, okay? And that will either go through a grease waste line, depending on which fixture is in the kitchen. It either goes into grease waste or it's going to go into regular sanitary. But regardless, all kitchen fixtures go through indirect waste. In other words, this is the floor. This is called a floor sink. This gets trapped, vented up at the wall, and then it goes down and runs to the drain. And then you have we'll say a 3-compartment sink. Well, that 3-compartment sink has to drain, but it's going to drain indirect into this. So it's going to go through here, through here, through here, and dump in. The key for indirect waste is this air gap. You have to have an air gap of at least an inch, or at least the size of the pipe. So if it's an inch and a half, you're going to have to be an inch and a half up. So yeah, indirect means if this ever does overflow, onto the floor, it's never going to back up into the food prep sink. Okay? It won't because of the air gap. Did I say the same size? I didn't mean the same size. It's got to be twice the diameter. Sorry. No less than 1 inch. So yes, generally speaking, kitchens and bathroom pipes are connected. How many basic plumbing systems are there? Well, we'll go real basic, okay? Drain, waste, and vent. Water. Now water, you have domestic, which is drinking water, potable water. You have industrial, which is anything not for potable use. Something that you would use to fill a heating hot water system, something like that. You also have RO, or pure water. Okay? Pure water. That is not something you want to drink on an everyday basis. There are no minerals in it. This is used in clean rooms, labs, that kind of thing. Completely clean, just H2O, that's it. There's also hot water, cold water, tempered water. You also have gas, low pressure, medium pressure, high pressure, liquid propane. There's diesel. Now that's not necessarily common, but if you do get into the commercial end of things, you may end up running a diesel fuel line. Let's see, what other systems are there? We could do reclaimed water system. So water reclamation. We were going on a field trip to there, but the COVID stopped us from doing that. Curse the virus. So yeah, reclaimed water. You also have filtration systems that are designed for, well, we'll skip to one of the questions. Guy asked if we were still going to go to SeaWorld. Yes, next semester. Can't do it this semester. Still not allowed to go anywhere. SeaWorld is still closed. We're going. We're going to go. That's an entire system. That's an entire filtration system. Okay? And that's salt water, seawater. Okay? So you have different types of filtration, seawater filtration, life support filtration systems, all kinds of stuff. DWV, you have regular waste and vent, you have grease waste, acid waste, regular sanitary. You also have storm. So there's plenty of different systems out there that we as plumbers have to deal with. Oh, gee. Med gas. Med gas, oxygen, nitrogen, nitrous oxide, um, medical air, vacuum. I can't remember the other one. There's plenty of them. Well, CO2, which is regular air. So all of that goes into the med gas. And then also air systems, not just med gas systems. There's all kinds of stuff. Compressed air lines. We do compressed air lines for industrial use, because a lot of the machinery and everything gets used off of pneumatics. So we have lots of systems. And each one of those systems has different requirements. What is plumbing and what is its importance? My Plumbing 1 instructor told me that plumbing is life safety. I believed it. We are responsible as plumbers for providing the one thing that we cannot live without. Water. Drinking water. Potable water. We provide that to the masses. And in that supply of water, we also are able to remove from dwellings, from houses, from buildings, from commercial areas, from all sorts of areas, public gatherings, stadiums, you name it, we are able, with the supply of water, to remove and dispose of human waste. So in a sense, we're health workers because we're providing life and a disease-free environment. If you look back in the histories, like I asked at the beginning of the semester, some of you even actually sent me information on that, saying that the Dark Ages and the times when we didn't have plumbing, people were dying from disease. And in I believe it was Chicago, the Great Lakes, when they were dumping their waste right into the Great Lakes there, it was going into the water system. So what they had to do is they had to devise an entire system that went upstream and dumped upriver so it could filter out naturally before it even hit the Great Lakes, which is where they get their water. We, as plumbers, we provide a healthy, living, sustainable nation and world, for that matter, civilization. So yeah, that's what a plumber is, and that's why it's very important. And then the last question is about the textbook. I do not have the textbooks. The virus hit, and everything went to shit. It just went away. Everything did. Everybody had different priorities. Everybody had, let's just get through the semester. Let's make sure we teach as much as we possibly can with what we have. When you come back, the book that I do want you to get is this one. This is the Uniform Plumbing Code. This, to me, is the only real book you need, because this has everything we have to do in it. Talks about everything we have to do. Now, I'm not saying the other books aren't good. They are good. They're great for learning. Um, this is a copy of the book that you were going to get, and this is Modern Plumbing. And it's chock full of illustrations and pictures and different types of valves and different layouts and how you can do things. So yeah, we would have learned a lot from this book. We didn't get it. But next semester, when we go through plumbing code, I will make sure that that book is in your hands. Unless you want to buy it yourself. And if you're going to become a plumber, then I suggest you do buy your own. So those are the questions that I did get. And I thank you for those questions. And you will be getting a final tomorrow. I'm going to email it to you. Take the entire weekend, take the rest of the week this week to get it finished, and turn it in next Monday if you can. If not, then Wednesday will be the last night for you to turn that in. That is the last assignment that you will be getting, is the final. And you will continue to take it until you pass it. So in other words, you're going to kick it back to me, I'll grade it. If you don't pass, I'll kick it back to you until you do pass. Because again, this is a non-credited course, and I just need you to understand what was given to you throughout the semester. So I thank you, and I will see you all next time. Have a good night.